Hello, my name is Caitlin Patchett, and today I will be doing my presentation on rap music with a focus on Eminem. Why the need for rap? Despite the civil rights movement of the 1960s, African Americans generally experienced hard times. By 1980, more than 31% of African Americans lived in poverty, and in 1984, the number of single-parent, female-headed African American families skyrocketed to 50%. By 1992, this number rose to 59%. To gain support that would have usually been provided by a stable family, many African American youths joined gangs. These gangs often warred against one another, which contributed to a dramatic growth in street violence and death, and by 1992, homicide became the leading cause of death among African American teenagers. To make matters worse, by the mid-1980s, crack had become an epidemic in the inner cities, and without many options, some inner-city African American youths sold crack, and as it became more competitive and lucrative, gangs became involved and violence escalated. Rap music arose from and helped shape the African American desperation in the inner cities. It originated in the ghettos of New York City. As disco became popular in the early 1970s, some disco jockeys in the Bronx and Harlem began to play at parties, but rather than use an entire song, some record spinners such as Jamaican Ray's Kool Herc began to play or sample short fragments the dancers requested, which usually requested made up by the percussion breaks. Rappers tended to favor polyrhythmic funk over more simplistic disco. While disco was in, the kids wanted something that they couldn't hear on the radio, so Herc started to add special effects to the samples of the funky music. Reggae producer King Tubby began to remove most vocals from the track to create a dub version of the song, and then added echo and reverb to the altered rhythmic track. Eventually, spinners would scratch the records back and forth to produce a unique rhythmic pattern. Building on the African oral history tradition and copying Jamaican U-Roy, Herc began to talk along with the halting polyrhythmic sounds. Soon, others would begin to rap along with the beat, eventually inviting friends to rap for them to give them greater creativity with the funk-based music. Around the same time disco was taking off, Eminem, born Marshall Bruce Mathers III, was born in Missouri, but as a young child moved to Detroit, Michigan. He spent much of his youth living in a working-class African-American dominated Detroit, Michigan suburb. Eminem's father left the family and moved to California. And as a teenager, Eminem often would write his father letters that would come back marked "Return to Sender." Eminem's home life was seldom stable, and at the age of 14 he began rapping with a high school buddy, and the two of them would often sneak into a neighboring high school to partake in the lunchroom rap battles. On Saturdays, they frequented the open mic contest at the Hip Hop Shop on West 7 Mile, which was considered ground zero for the Detroit rap scene. Struggling to succeed in a primarily African-American industry, he turned to the dictionary, where he chose the longest words and worked out words that rhymed with each syllable. As Eminem's reputation grew, he teamed up with various rap groups, one of whom was D12, who released their first album in 2001. Eminem was soon signed to FBT Production and recorded his first album, Infinite, for their web internet label. The album was a commercial failure upon its release in 1996. During this period, Eminem's rhyming style was primarily inspired by Nas, Esham, and Az, and lacked the comically violent slant which he is known for today. Detroit disc jockeys largely ignored his album and told him to return to rock and roll. It was this feedback that led Eminem to craft angrier, moodier tracks. Eminem developed a sadistic, violent alter ego known as Slim Shady, which began to attract attention. This new character allowed him to express his anger with lyrics about drugs, rape, and murder. In the spring of 1997, he recorded his debut EP, the Slim Shady EP, which frequently referenced drug use, sexual acts, mental instability, and violence, as well as exposed the more serious themes of dealing with poverty as well as marital and family difficulties. In 1997, he went to Los Angeles, where he battled in the Rap Olympics, placing second. Interscope staff, whom was in attendance, sent his Slim Shady EP to company CEO Jimmy Iovine, who played the tape for record producer Dr. Dre. Upon hearing the tracks, Dr. Dre told his people to find Eminem now. After working with Dr. Dre, Eminem's albums began to receive more recognition. In 1999, he released the Slim Shady LP, which was certified quadruple platinum by RIAA. Eminem would go on to release 4 more incredibly successful albums before taking a hiatus in 2005. In 2009, he released Relapse. In 2010, Recovery, and in 2012, the Marshall Mathers LP2, all of which had amazing ratings. Eminem, along with manager Paul Rosenberg, founded Shady Records, which helped launch the careers of artists such as 50 Cent. Shade 45 is Eminem's own channel on Sirius XM, and in 2002 he starred in 8 Mile, a film which loosely followed his life and startup of his rap career. Eminem won an Academy Award for Best Original Song for Lose Yourself, which was featured in the film. In recent years, Eminem has released Revival in 2017 and an unannounced album Kamikaze in 2018, both of which were met with mixed reviews by critics. This past year, we've seen him speak out against President Trump. Although not the first president Eminem has spoken out against, he has said that you cannot be his fan and a Trump supporter. I personally am looking forward to more album releases of Eminem as a true fan. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation and hope you all have a great winter break and good luck on finals. Thank you.